Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you watched my video last week, it was kind of a nice broad overview of things I didn't expect from my law school application process, and that is right here if you want to go watch it. But in that video, I talked about kind of making it a two-part series, and that the second part was going to be a more detailed dive into my personal law school application process. So that is what this video is. Hope everyone appreciates the cats photobombing. That's who they are. So I literally tracked all my application stuff in my bullet journal. So I am going to be referencing that because I've got like timeline stuff. So as I forgot in my last video, I applied to 12 schools, which is a lot. I don't know if I would recommend that because applying to law schools is very expensive. There's just, yeah, it's a whole thing. Like there's a lot of cost that goes into it. So, and some schools send fee waivers, which is fantastic. So you don't have to pay that much for your applications, but yeah, 12 is a lot, and that's a large financial investment to make. So if you can apply to fewer, would recommend. That being said, one of the schools that I applied to kind of on the margin of that like 11th or 12th school I added to the list is the school I wound up with. So take that, you know, as you wish. Take that advice about limiting with a grain of salt. For reference, not as a bragging thing, I guess, but just because someone's gonna ask in a comment anyways, because it's been asked on my blog posts about law school stuff. My scores going in were approximately a, 170 something on my LSAT and a 3.9 something GPA. We're just gonna get that out there before we start. So the 12 schools I applied to in vaguely alphabetical order are Boston College, Columbia University, Duke, Cornell, already out alphabetical order, Georgetown, NYU, Northwestern, UC Berkeley, UChicago, University of Michigan, Vanderbilt, and Washington University in St. Louis. Whew. So that was a lot. I submitted all of those applications within the span of a month. So I submitted my first application end of September, submitted my last one end of October. Kind of a very, very, very busy month. And from there, started hearing back. So I interviewed with a total of 6 out of the 12. So I interviewed with Cornell, Northwestern, UChicago, Georgetown, Vandy, and Washington St. Louis. So I didn't actually travel for any interviews. It was really hard for me to travel because I was working on the election, and yeah, I couldn't take time off work. I did a lot of phone interviews or Skype interviews. I also did some in-person alumni interviews here in DC with people who are like working here. And then also did one really fun interview where the question pops up on the screen and you just answer a blank screen, so there's no human interviewer. That's a fun one. And from there, started hearing back. So fastest I heard back was literally a 2-week turnaround. So I applied to Duke, was one of my last applications that I submitted. Duke got back to me and told me that I got in 2 weeks later. That was the fastest by far. And then from there, it was just kind of a trickle. There'd be like radio silence from everyone for a while, and then I'd get like 2 in a row. It's it just happens. So next school I heard back from was Georgetown. So I interviewed with Georgetown on the 2nd of November and got accepted the 12th. So that one kind of moved really quickly from the post-interview process. Then there was my next school I heard back from was NYU. So I heard back from NYU on November 28th. It was my birthday. Got a nice little phone call that said I had been accepted. So that was super exciting because at the time that was my dream school. That was where I wanted to go above anywhere else. Always a good thing. And then from there had a nice triple whammy, and I heard back from like 3 schools in the span of like 4 days. So heard back from Washington University in St. Louis, on the 4th of December, heard back from Boston College on the 7th of December, and Vanderbilt on the 10th of December, and all 3 of those were also acceptances. Then, you know, had a nice little break. Everyone was on holiday from like mid-December to beginning of January. So, you know, heard back from 3 schools in a wham bam bam, and then nothing for a little bit. So, which, you know, what can you do? It's Christmas. Enjoy. And so then heard back from some schools in mid-January. So heard back from Columbia and Cornell within 24 hours of each other. Also acceptances. I feel like an asshole for, you know, but we're being straightforward here. So fun fact, I don't have a couple of these in my bullet journal. So now we get to dig through my emails and see if hopefully I saved things. After that, about a week later, that's when I heard back from Berkeley. So this was like January 22nd. So got an acceptance from Berkeley. I guess it's nice timing wise because so all the acceptances I think come in first. Because sometimes they'll hang on to applications if they're like, we're kind of in the air about this. So towards the end is where I got 2 waitlists. So I was waitlisted at University of Chicago and Michigan for presumably 2 different reasons. Chicago being that it's the number 4 law school, and Michigan being that a lot of schools sometimes waitlist people if they think they're not gonna go there, and I wasn't gonna probably go to Michigan. So they read me right. That's kind of how the acceptance timeline worked. The financial aid timeline was a very different mess in that I heard back from one school, and that was Washington University of St. Louis. I heard back about my scholarship stuff for them like a week after I got accepted, and they came back to me with a scholarship package that was incredible. That is really all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, they set the bar very high. So got continually scholarship offers. Usually a lot of them came in early to mid-March. So, or even kind of going into later March, because a lot of schools have their deadlines for making commitments at the beginning of April. So most schools are doing their scholarship offers early March, and if you want to try to pop in a little bit of negotiation and see if you can up your standings, that like 2-week period right before those commitment deposits are due is usually your best bet for that. And then there are some schools who don't even have it in by that time, and it's just, why are we taking this long? Like, there are some schools where I never even looked at my financial aid package because I had already kind of come down on a decision. That being said, my decision is, you know, not exactly what you would expect, because the decision for my law school application process for the 2019-2020 school year is that I am not going. So I am actually not starting law school this fall for a number of reasons. But the main reason is that I started a new job in March and just wasn't ready to leave it or DC at the end of August, which is the timeline I probably would have been looking at if I had gone to school this year. So obviously a big shakeup from, you know, kind of my intended plans, but the fun news is that I'm still going to law school, and I didn't apply to 12 schools in vain, because what's happened is I worked with some very lovely admissions people, and I have deferred my spot and my scholarship at Washington University of St. Louis until next fall. So in a year and a couple of months from now, I will be starting law school. So that kind of all coalesced in the month of March as I had this big epiphany of not ready to leave yet. and had to kind of see if that was possible before those deadlines in April crept up on me. So that was, you know, stressful, but I am ultimately super pumped about this. I am in a really great position with this school and the opportunities that I have kind of in law school as far as mentorship and, you know, let's get money for a second. I have a full scholarship, which is something that, you know, I'm going to work in probably still something very political slash like nonprofit issue advocacy type stuff after I graduate law school. So for me, going to a school that is giving me a fantastic package scholarship wise was huge. I think that I kind of made a decision based on a balance of both, you know, prestige and scholarships. So, which I think is, you know, that's reality. I didn't want to be in debt for the rest of my life, so I am super pumped about this, and I'm super pumped. All of the people that I have worked with and talked to there are wonderful, so I am very, very excited to make St. Louis my home in a year or so. But you know, for now, we're living it up in DC. Would have been nice if I had had like a cap or something, or like a t-shirt to like throw on as like a dramatic reveal, but I don't have merch, so I need to get on that. But anyways, that is kind of the whole timeline for me, and between these two videos, you've now gotten a very, very thorough view of what my law school application process looked like. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you found it relatively helpful if you are considering applying to law school, if you are applying to law school next year, you know, any of that good stuff. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me and more fitnessy content and lifestyle stuff that I do on the regular and eventually law school content in a year, you can click the subscribe button right here, and I will see you guys next week for next week's video. Bye guys.